that of the NBA. Jordan Crawford, we mentioned, goes only 5'6", picked up the double T for getting into it a little bit with Trowick. You don't want to mess with Mr. Crawford, Dave, although 5'6", he is a third-degree black belt in Taekwondo.
And it's been well documented his association with Floyd Money Mayweather for some extra artillery.
Yes, earlier this year, in fact, it was the night.
Stokes off target, rebound by Fredette. His head is up. Penetrates inside, hangs with the left hand. It's off the iron and controlled by Antetokounmpo.
Well, Fredette's had a couple of pretty drives off penetration, but has not been able to finish them. James has to run it down, and so far we're not seeing that crispness offensively, and there, yet another example, yet another Westchester turn.
A presence for the left hand and scores to increase the lead.
And increases point total to 9 now on 4 of 6 shooting, while Jimmer Fredette 3 points on just 1 of 4. Well, Langston Galloway, along with several other New York Knicks, have been great about attending these D-League games here in Westchester. Nearly another turnover, and now indeed it is. Number 6 for Westchester. New York Knicks seated courtside. Kristaps Porzingis, Jose 7 Westchester turnovers, 72% shooting for Sioux Falls. That's your ball game through 1 quarter.
Sioux Falls on the season #1 field goal percentage in the league, just a hair under 50%. Outperforming that in the first 12 minutes. Benson with the long outlet. Pull-up 3 at the buzzer. And it's no good for Briante Weber. Against the Skyforce, 11 of 50 regular season games.
And Whittington, wearing number 2, appeared to Rutgers, then never suited up, and actually sat out the last 2 years playing no organized basketball, yet averaging 13 and 8 here in the D-League. Despite those injuries you mentioned, as Fredette commits yet another Westchester turnover.
Whittington will train here in Westchester as a practice player for the Knicks. Whittington will train here in Westchester as a practice player for the Knicks. Westchester had hoped that he'd be able to join the team this season. Instead, he was part of Miami's training camp and winded up in Sioux Falls. Miami, of course, the parent club of the Skyforce. Fredette off the screen, looking to be aggressive, and it's a swish.
And they made it easy on him, gave him an open look, moving Westchester within
4-2, the series shifting to South Dakota at Sioux Falls. It's a Friday night, 8 o'clock Eastern game, and then if necessary on Sunday at 8:30, it's game 3. Also in Sioux Falls. For more on this series, please go to NBADleague.com or visit the NBA D-League app. Keith Benson, another all-star for Sioux Falls, rebounds the miss.
Paczynski.
Sioux Falls rebounds the miss.
Paczynski had a good look over Benson, couldn't hit.
Teray Murray off the spin. Season, 56 games overall as an NBA pro. Earning a 10-day contract last year with Washington, but has not found his way back to the association this season. Jordan Baczynski patient on the block.
And finally, Jordan here, a couple of minutes into the second quarter.
#1 in the D-League for Fredette, who earned a single 10-day contract with the New York Knicks earlier this season. He also got called up by New Orleans at the start of the D-League year. James circling, shovels it. Baczynski having Benson pinned on his back, and he scores.
And Baczynski's a guy we've discussed during the season, Dave.
And there is one with Maine on the road, up by 10. And interestingly, Joey, Westchester in our game, the lower seed, 3 out of 4 from Sioux Falls, but early on, both division winners are off to good starts.
And the fact that 2 games, if necessary, in this series yet to come would be at Sioux Falls. Well, Westchester actually, as Paczynski is able to power one home. Westchester actually, very unusual at this level.
Another one falls from deep.
Making with the gyrations after putting it home from deep. And so those big men for the Skyforce continue to show the all-around game as they're up 14 again.
James open for 3. Left the answer short. Rebound tracked down Fredette. Early in the shot clock, it's Trice.
Well, a short time ago, Baczynski finally scored for the first time. Now Trice does the same. Normally, they get off to a much quicker start.
It's 3 triples for Greg Whittington off the bench here in the second quarter.
And so it continues to rain threes for the Skyforce, 5 of 8. Knicks an uncharacteristic 3 of 5. They're one of the worst shooting three-point teams in the league. The fact that they're overcoming that tonight doesn't matter because this is shot.
Knicks are the worst in terms of made.
The fact that the Knicks are 3 of 5 from 3, the fact that they're shooting an even 50% from the floor overall doesn't matter right now because Sioux Falls is shooting 68% from the floor and has been even hotter from 3. It's got to start with defense for Westchester.
It starts in the corner for Jimmer Fredette.
So with their more modest, capable, has been out for several minutes, and guess what? Now he's about to return.
There are only 10 active players for each team available today. So each player is so very important. Baczynski turns on the rip through and draws the contact against Keith Benson, a pair of big.
As a college player a few years ago, back in 2014 at Arizona State.
Stokes gets the friendly roll off the iron.
And does it against the 7-2 Baczynski despite the big height differential. After 2 NBA stints, as we said earlier this year, now for Stokes, it's all about the postseason here in the D-League, trying to lead Sioux Falls to a title. Santa Cruz, the defending champion in the D-League, they have not even made the playoffs this year.
Same can be said for the 2-time Eastern Conference champs, the Mad Ants of Fort Wayne. So we will
7 rebounds before he went to Turkey. If you're looking for something positive for Westchester, well, one thing is that those 2 guys aren't still here for the Skyforce.
Trice weaving his way through, draws the contact.
And often when Westchester distribution or his offense, he goes to the bucket. Isn't that how some NFL coaches have gotten started, working for free, breaking down the video?
It's all about cutting tape. Just make sure the good stuff isn't on the editing room floor, right?
Of course, fortunately now, there's not a lot of actual cutting since it's done on computer.
Fredette weaving through the defense.
And does not have much support.
Fredette weaving through the defense.
And does not have much support. But I think considering the way they've played defensively and turning it over, the Knicks are fortunate to be within 12.
Trice, the steal and the score in the open floor.
Well, he said he's off on the catalyst, and he was right there. Good all-around player. He can pass, can drive, can shoot, good on the defensive end, had 5 steals.
Paulo against Fredette. Good angle off the window.
And we've now seen 9 different players score for Sioux Falls, and so that's the versatility, the depth that we've talked about.
Trice on the move. Good find to Baczynski.
It was clear what Jordan was going to do. Dave, I mean, we're concerned, of course, mainly with his coaching ability, but he is.
Although I think he's been kind to you throughout the season with halftime interviews, no?
Oh.
Stokes with the left hand.
None better. None better.
The lead back to 12 after Westchester cut it to 10. Trice maneuvering his way on the baseline, and it's collected by Trawick. Stokes, baseline. Ski, offensive foul as the
out of his face, but look at me, huh? Big alarmist, trying to be dramatic.
Safety first.
Right, fortunately, no blood.
Under 2 minutes to go. Trice driving on Paulo, defended well. Sioux Falls on the run out. 3-on-1. Stokes with the
7 a game, and we have a whistle. Westchester can score at least 2 here, and cut it to 9.5. That wouldn't be completely awful.
Trice stepping back with 2 seconds to go. Rebound cleared by Trawick, and we are at halftime. It's a 13-point lead for Sioux Falls at the break in game one.
As hitting on the shot here is Whittington, who we haven't heard from for a while, and it's Sioux Falls by 14. But the defenders, despite their name, perhaps more of a misnomer, they're 5th in the league in scoring, and they have Vanderblue, the former Marquette star, #1 in the league individually at 26 per game. Something in the air out west.
Crawford elevating to the rim. And what's interesting about the playoffs this season, 3 return comers in the West.
Wide open.
Whittington off target. Antetokounmpo grabs the board. Under 3 minutes to go in the third. These teams separated by a dozen.
And I'll tell you, Westchester still within reach despite the subpar play.
Atkins facing up against Stokes. Briante Weber in here in the third quarter.
Man advantage.
Facing up against Stokes. Briante Weber in here in the third quarter.
Man advantage. Liggins slow getting up.
Trice boxing out, helped out by Rashad James. He's got an explosive first step. Falling away. Switch.
Just a great scorer, Rashad James. We mentioned earlier he grew up 5 minutes from here in White Plains in Westchester, New York metropolitan area. About a half hour north of New York City, maybe a little bit less. Depends on traffic, right?
Stokes from the outside. High rebound on Antetokounmpo. Chance to trim the deficit to single figures.
Good ball movement. Better ball movement. Better
Crawford
block.
Blocked.
The block.
Weber.
Sorry, David. The block trumps the good ball movement. Of course, we're New York metropolitan area. About a half hour north of New York City, maybe a little bit less. Depends on traffic, right?
Stokes from the outside. High rebound on Antetokounmpo. Chance to trim the deficit to single figures.
Good ball movement. Better ball movement. Better
Crawford
block.
Blocked.
The block.
Weber.
Sorry, David. The block trumps the good ball movement. Of course, where he was the #3 all-time steals man in Division I for his career when his playing days ended. In steals in front of that man, the only 2 with more ever. They're both from Providence. John Linehan, Eric Murdoch. What are the odds of that?
Backhanded feed inside. Vichinsky couldn't reach for it. Extra pass, Whittington. Ball is loose and hand off to James. Couldn't handle. It's on the deck. It'll stay with Westchester.
Dan Craig looking for players like Benson and Whittington have not played all that much.
And with that collision, good to see Darion Atkins not suffer any ill effects from that contact to his knees. 2 on the timer. Extra pass, Vichinsky. The Knicks ran out of seconds.
Well, off the overplay against James has led Westchester to the...
Knicks just a half a step, a half a second short. On the kick out to Weber. He drives in for the shorter pull-up, no. 40 ticks to go. Knicks ball, they can hurry for a 2-for-1. Crawford dashing to the lane, lost it. Fortuitous redirection to Atkins. He's after the loose ball, no. Vichinsky a chance. And on the block attempt, he's fouled. It's Greg.
Wise, led by the 24 of Stokes.
The 5th foul committed there by Antetokounmpo, so Vichinsky checks back in. On the floor with Keith Wright, Travis Trice, Rashad James, and Jordan Crawford.
Small lineup, 3-gun attack for Westchester.
Crawford, Briante Weber, Greg Whittington, DeAndre Liggins, along with Keith Benson.
So we talked about it on Westchester's way, handing Sioux Falls 3 of their 10 losses, but so far, Sioux Falls has kept Westchester from really having any sustained period of several minutes where they've been good on both ends.
Here comes James, eyeing the rim. He dribbled it off of his foot.
There you see Dan Craig continuing to coach it up, his club up by 13.
Out to Trice, a 3. back an entire year was the win regular season record. They got to 40 against just 10 losses, and they are the favorites to take home the NBA D-League championship.
Yeah, that old record of 38 wins belonged to LA, the D-Fenders, D-Fenders.
James misfires. Vichinsky outraced by Whittington.
Both teams inept on the offensive end to start the fourth. We've seen from Sioux Falls, not so much for Westchester. As Westchester has a knack late in these games in which they're trailing, we've seen it during the year, turning up the defense and getting out in transition, causing some turnovers and getting back in the game. Not yet.
Crawford uses the screen off the pump fake. Too strong. And a loose ball foul as the Sioux Falls defense, and that's what the Skyforce. Weber, offensive rebound for Sioux Falls.
For Stokes, while all this is happening, getting a nice long breather on the bench.
Weber on the move. Deflected by Trice to James. Weber stole it back. 2 on none for Magruder.
And Mike Miller says, let me call a timeout or this game's going to be over. Howie
for the Skyforce. Each team carrying 10 active players for this Eastern Conference semifinal game 1. Liggins with a great fake and then a bullet pass inside for an easy 2. Briante Weber.
You say easy 2 for Sioux Falls. So infrequently we've said that for Westchester, though they get an easy 3 right there from Travis Trice.
So once again, back to a dozen, 7 minutes to go in this.
Against the other 3 playoff teams in the East was 8-6.
Leaning in for a missed shot, followed up by Stokes, who just outmuscles everybody for the loose ball.
28 points, 10 boards. About the only suspense at this point is will Stokes match or perhaps surpass his season high, which is 29.
14th double-double of the season for Jarnell Stokes, who began the year with the Miami Heat. Played a number of games with Sioux Falls, will improve to 25-4 with Jarnell Stokes in the lineup. Final minute of play, 1 on the timer. Boo Paulo rims in and out. The Knicks made a couple attempts at a comeback. They just could not trim it to single digits. And every time Westchester grouped a couple of baskets together, Sioux Falls has had the answer.